Welcome to Fireteam Chat, IGN's Destiny show. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me in the studio today is Stephen Rue.
Hello.
Sean Finnegan.
Chomp.
And Eric's. How's it going, dude?
How's it going?
It's going great. We are incredibly happy to have you on the show today. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about all the new updates from Bungie. We're going to be talking about what their changes mean for the future of Destiny. We're going to be talking about those Xur bounties. We're going to be talking about what we think the 6-player activity could be, what we're not getting with Black Armory, and there are going to be some spoilers at the end, but we will warn you ahead of time. So let's get right into the show. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Really happy to have you
Thank
here.
you for having me.
Yeah.
It's awesome to be here.
Have you been on before?
I have not. No.
No, you haven't.
It's the first time.
So
I watched the show, but I haven't been on. So.
We were watching the Anthem stream, and I jokingly said at Eric, hey, when are you going to come on FTC? And then he DM'd me. He's like, hey, I'll totally be on. And I was like, all right.
Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Deal making. This is how it happened.
24 hours later, it happened.
Yeah, I was like, can you be on tomorrow? I know it's
That
really
actually
short
worked out really
notice.
well, because otherwise the next 2 weeks are going to be kind of busy.
Yeah, right. We got Black Armory along the way. We got a raid coming out. I'm really excited. How are you guys feeling about the Black Armory update? We'll start with Steven.
Feeling pumped, but
there's
different layers to it. Like I'm sure we'll get into it, but I'm feeling pretty excited.
Sean?
Same. I think this is, I've said it before, but this is the first time that I felt like, wow, I'm really in the grind with Destiny, and it doesn't feel like months before I get new content. It's right around the corner. So it seems really well timed, and I think the community is both excited for what they're doing now and for what they're going to be doing in the near future.
Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely super excited for more of it. Some of the changes they've done recently have been really good, so if they can kind of keep that going. Definitely, there's a few questions I do have, and a few things that it seems like the structure is changing quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how that pans out. But no, I'm still definitely excited. I mean, more of what we love, right?
I'm intrigued. I want to see what they do with it. But real quick, I'm going to jump forward a little bit, and we're going to talk about what we're not getting. We're not going to be getting trials. We're not going to be getting faction rallies. And the big one for a lot of people is that we're not going to be getting new strikes. Were you guys really hoping for new strikes? Because I'm actually okay with it. I like the strikes we have available. I would have liked more, but I'm not heartbroken that we're not getting strikes specifically. Steven, you first.
I was kind of surprised that we're not getting new strikes because we've always gone a new strike whenever a DLC drops. But I'm not the biggest strike fan, so it's whatever to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not heartbroken either. I think we have a good amount of strikes right now, and the last couple of strikes that we have, I love the Corrupted, and that's the new one where we go into, the Dreamy City and the Ascendant Realm and all that stuff, and I think that that's an awesome strike. That said, on the show before, I've said this, I think strikes present Bungie with a really interesting opportunity to expand the universe and add the narrative content that we all really like as Guardians, so it's a little bit of a bummer to me that we're not getting that.
Yeah.
But who's to say that there aren't more strikes that they're planning in the future with this new format of how they're going to be distributing DLC content? It's very possible that we see a strike come up. Maybe it's one of those redacted boxes that we see later on in the year of the redacted.
Yeah, so that would be in the season of the redacted.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is June to August.
And
we're getting new rank rewards, Iron Banner, Solstice of Heroes,
right?
Exotic
But there's
Quest.
two redacted boxes in that one, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
You are
who knows? It might be one of those.
Wouldn't it be funny if that season ended up being Season of the Redacted?
That would be pretty good.
Or season of the missing strikes.
Yeah, right. So how do you feel about it? Are you like, man, I was really hoping to do another strike for the rest of my life?
To be honest, I mean, I'm not really too fussed because I think it's kind of weird, initially, because obviously we've come to expect a certain degree. Every expansion is always strikes, crucible matches, campaign. But honestly, when I think about it, I spend so little time playing strikes. Apart from when I'm doing a bounty and I have to go in there, I don't actively choose to do strikes. So for me, I mean, I am, I'm sure as we all are, I'm an in-game player, right? So all that I personally really care about is, raids and the kind of core stuff like that. So I'm getting that. So I'm not really. It kind of just means I can streamline my focus on what I really care about.
Yeah, so I was playing a really fun strike last night with Clatlis and Michael Lovebreeze, some friends of the show, and it's that one where the guy tractor beams you in, and he died, and we watched our points as he did his line of dialogue go below 100,000.
That sucks.
It just falls below. I'm like, are you kidding? The counter should stop when he's dead. The mission is over. There's no points we can get. There's no way to slow it down. We just got to wait for that timer to stop. I was a little salty. So I don't care that you're not making new strikes, but maybe make some tweaks to those strikes that need tweaks. Like, what's the one where the guy climbs all over the walls and does the electric ground that nobody really likes?
Oh, yeah, that's the worst one.
Yeah, they said they fixed it, but I still don't like that.
I mean, he's
Pretty
just
squishy now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still just gone most of the any boss fight where like you can't do damage to the boss because he teleports away or becomes immune for X amount of time. Like, I just think that's a really bad way of phasing bosses.
Definitely.
It's just boring.
Overall, I am really, really excited about the content coming with this expansion, but we want to talk about specifically what some of the things Bungie said in this video that has us wondering what's going to happen moving forward with Destiny. And I quote, because we wrote it down like journalists. We wrote, Justin Truman said, "We are not trying to do DLCs anymore. We're not trying to introduce a brand new campaign. Instead, what we want to do is deliver 3 full seasons of content. I didn't say I could read. That can last an entire year, that is coupled with the end game. We really don't want to be a box product that you think of as being on a disc. We want to be a world that evolves and changes over time." Sean, do you think they are going the World of Warcraft route where Destiny is now the sandbox that we're going to be playing in for the remainder of the lifespan of Destiny, or not?
Well, I mean, they're going in a different direction. I don't know that it's the World of Warcraft direction because World of Warcraft still does do traditional, like large $60 expansions every, however long, 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That said, this idea of continually introducing content on a weekly or bi-weekly basis is very different than the structure they've gone with before, and it's a big change for Destiny.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very promising because it gives Bungie a couple of things. One, it gives them the opportunity to continually introduce new content, which players who are really engaged in the game want regularly. It's something we've all said before, right? Like 6 months in between new content drops is just too long, right? But then secondarily, it allows them to be more nimble in changing the things that need to be changed quick, right?
Yeah.
Like community can provide feedback within a week or 2 weeks, and then maybe a week or 2 weeks later, that's changed in the game, potentially. So that's also a really good thing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like the Void Super.
Yeah.
Continue.
So yeah, I mean, or Queenbreaker in Gambit, right? Yeah. So I think those are 2 really interesting things that Bungie has the opportunity to do now with this new format that we haven't gotten before. And for me, that's exciting. Like, who knows if that actually works out? I do think that some of the player base is going to be a little salty that we're not getting big traditional content drops. But in the past, Bungie hasn't fared all that well when they've done that. When they released Curse of Osiris, people were like, this sucks. And then when Warmind came out, they were like, this sucks. And now they're like, well, we're going to change everything. And I'll bet you that player base is like, this sucks too. Yeah. I think the grass is going to be always greener for a good chunk of the community, but I personally am excited.
What's your reaction, Eric? So we have another quote here from Eric Osborne, who said, "We're changing because of the player feedback. We're changing because of the reception to Dreaming City. And we're changing because players want to be able to experience the game not just in day one feast mode. They want that buffet to last, give them reasons to keep coming back." Do you think this is a good idea?
I think it's incredibly important. I think it's definitely a format that we've seen works, and it's something that people will obviously, I was kind of sort of speaking to someone the other day about it. Like, you have that day one rush where like we're all sort of used to it. Like this, a traditional expansion drops and you just blitz as much stuff as you can. And while on one side, there's a fun aspect to that. That also kind of to a certain degree contributes to a certain degree of like player burnout anyway, right? They'll just try and rush through so much content they just can't even process it anyway. So being able to kind of switch that up and allow people to kind of experience it like kind of across a larger period of time is definitely interesting. I think it will take some adjusting to that point before that you were saying that like the player base will probably, when Black Armory comes out, they'll be like, what is this? There's no content. Like, what the hell? But then once they realize what they're getting as a whole, I don't think they'll mind too much. The important thing here is quite how Bungie have spread it out. If they spread it out to the point where each week there's something that is valuable that we actually do enjoy, then it's fine. If we do find that they've spread it thin and it's like, take something like Curse of Osiris. If they spread that thinly, we still wouldn't be happy because it was like the content wasn't great and it's spread out. But if it's like a genuinely good expansion with some like really good content and we can experience that across, a month, 2 month, 3 month period, then I think it's a format that definitely works. I'm all for it. It's, I play a lot of MMOs. I'm used to this kind of, frequent content update format. So
I'm saying this as sarcastically as possible, but I really hope that they add short missions that you can only do one piece of a week and they last like 5 minutes and then you can finish it out and get a cool weapon at the end. I love that. Don't do that.
I wouldn't mind if it's not the main content.
Yeah.
I don't mind timed stuff like that.
Steven, why is this idea going to fail with them doing this content this way?
I personally like. So I was talking to Sean about this. When I first heard or watched the Vidoc, I was super pumped when they said that they're gonna. What was the quote? We're changing because players want to be able to experience the game not just in day one feast mode. As like hardcore players that people out Destiny, we want to burn through all the content in day one, right? And when I heard this, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! We're gonna get content." And we kind of already seen it in the Dreaming City. We did all the Forsaken, and then every reset there was something new to do, and it culminated with the Shattered Throne, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But then after I watched the Vidoc, I was thinking to myself, and Eric's already touched on this: if the content that we get every week is very shallow and it's not repetitive, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not intriguing. And
Yeah.
It's not fun to do it over and over again.
I made a terrible joke earlier, but the Thunderlord quest being gated in that way was not really enjoyable. Just let us do it if we can get through it quickly.
Yeah, that's my only worry. Like, can you imagine if we got the blind well over a certain period of time? Like, the blind well is very unfun, in my opinion.
You get tier 1 week 1.
Yeah, I think you get tier 1 week 1, and then the next reset you get tier 2, and the next reset you get tier 3. That to me is not fun. Like, we're getting new content every week, but the blind well isn't fun, right? And there's no rewards to go for it. And if that is the case, then I'm worried. But if it's fun, like if we're getting blind well one week and then a different version of like escalation protocol the next week, then I can see it working out.
Yeah, I mean, like there's concerns to be had there, right? We always want the content, whether or not it's part of a big DLC or part of like a week-long sort of new thing, to be engaging and fun, right? That said, I don't know. I mean, even as someone who plays Destiny every single day, if one of those weeks ends up being not so engaging or a little less engaging,
don't play.
like, it's only a week.
Yeah.
You know, like there's other things to do. You can grind out some Gambit or whatever, work on those titles. I don't know. Obviously, yeah, it'd be great if every week something new was dropped and it was awesome. But like, you know, if it isn't, I don't know that that's the end of the world.
Here's what we got coming down the line, in case you were curious. On December 4th, we got Volunder Forge, and that is also the day Black Armory drops. We also got December 7th, the Go Fanon Forge, and December 7th will also be the new raid. December 11th, the Dawning returns. And then December 18th, Izanami Forge. January 8th, Niobe Labs. And then January 29th, Exotic Quest, The Draw. Sean, how hyped are you that could potentially be the last word?
I mean, I'm pretty convinced that it is the last word.
It is the last word.
Yeah, just because
He had it on his hit.
I mean, but to Destin's point, we've been fooled by that before. Like we thought
Malfeasance was last word.
Malfeasance was last word too, because it kind of looked like it. But you're right. Like I looked at it on.
Malfeasance was Thorn.
Was that what it was?
It doesn't matter. We were wrong
people
is
thought
the
it was
point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it looks a lot like the last word.
I mean,
in the whole
Josh Hamrick in the Vidoc said you're getting a fan favorite back.
People didn't.
I like
It wasn't
Thorn.
a fan favorite.
It
right?
was a
like,
fan
It was my
favorite.
Anyway,
Dude, it's the draw.
yeah. So that's the thing. It's the most convincing.
It's your
things
favorite
are-
gun, Sean. That's why I thought
It
this
is.
would be
It
perfect
is
setup
my
for-
favorite gun. Yeah, and I'm amped about it. But yeah, like the main sort of things that point to it being the last word.
Yeah.
It's called the draw, and then there's all this lore between Dredge and Yor and this guy Shin. And
Malphur.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that guy, I guess, is the last word guy.
If it's not the last word, I will uninstall Destiny and never play again.
Oh, whatever.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm
You
just
heard it
saying-
here.
I'm just
You
saying
heard it-
it's the
you heard
last.
it here.
It's
Yeah.
the last word.
Yeah, I
We will do a special episode of Fireteam Chat. If it is not the last word, we're going to record Steven on installing Destiny.
Watch it be the first
He'll never
curse.
be on the show again because he won't know what's going on.
I mean, were you guys last word fans? Because I was
was a last word
definitely a last word over Thorn person in D1.
I was
like
a
Thorn.
Thorn fan. A-Rex,
Thorn.
what do you...
Thorn.
You were Thorn too. All right. Good.
That's
good.
why I'm not excited about the new bow, because the bow is basically Thorn, right? So
Yeah,
I'm like, well, Let me just go back to being that scumbag player. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said that bow was thorny, which I thought was a really funny description of it.
Get it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading some people worried about how the last word's going to affect the meta. They were saying like it's probably just going to be a bunch of people standing in the back of their spawns in PvP with sniper rifles and then last word. So if anyone comes near them, there's gun them down. I don't know. I mean, we'll
Got Ace of Spades now, which is like dominating the PvP player base.
yeah, and Luna's how. I mean, there's so many
Luna's,
there's so many great weapons in PvP that I don't know that last word's going to come in and wreck the meta. But like, as someone who thought by far that gun was the best primary in PvP, I'm so amped, and I think it's going to be really cool. If it's as powerful as it was in year one, who knows? If it's like a little weak, then we'll see.
So before moving on, there were a few little notes that I didn't really know how to put into the show, so I'll just bring them up really quick. Raids come in many sizes. This one will be larger than Layers, but smaller than Last Wish. I think that's perfect. Last Wish was pretty long that first time we all went through it. I think like 2 people beat it in the first day, and then somebody beat it in 2402. I can't remember who it was, though. Yeah. It was 2 minutes over, right? For data?
That's messed up.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it being a little bit smaller than we'll call it the Last Wish Ribbon Nightmare? Arex?
I mean, to be honest, I think that will be. I mean, if it's bigger than Lair and smaller than that, I think it's probably going to be that the perfect size. Like, I love Last Wish. It's probably one of my favorite. Well, definitely one of my favorite raids. I'm just thinking whether it's number 1 for me. But yeah, But I feel like I know what you mean. It was quite a lot to do in one chunk. And the fact they also made comparisons to it being more in line with Wrath of the Machine, that's also one of my most one of my favorite raids, definitely. So I feel like if we get that kind of feel from it, the fact we've seen like some Sparrow aspects to it, I think it could be like a really good one, to be honest.
I'm excited. Real quick, how do you guys feel about it being a little bit smaller than Last Wish?
I'm glad it's not a layer. I was having
Me
this.
too.
I was having this conversation with CJ earlier, and a layer is 3 encounters.
Yeah.
And the Last Wish was, I think, 6 encounters or 5 encounters. So I'm expecting this to be around 4 encounters. And I love that we're going back to the Last City. I'm not expecting this raid to tie into the story like Last Wish did.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pretty interesting.
New
to see.
location.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Fallen.
I think it would be cool if it tied into the overall story, not necessarily what's going on with the Dreaming City and the Awoken and whatever.
I doubt it, though.
I mean, but can you imagine them adding anything like a raid, any significant part of like piece of content that's just like totally out of left field?
I mean,
In a raid?
Yeah.
A whole new like character that doesn't really tie in to the main campaign would be
Yeah, but I mean-
interesting, but it would be weird.
Yeah, but I mean, like, don't you think there's an opportunity there to expand the already existing universe of
Yeah, that would be
characters in
cool.
interesting ways?
Yeah.
But I mean, what I'm expecting is like there's an imminent threat in the city. We need to take care of it. That's the raid.
Oh. Yeah.
I like that, and that would be a good reason to like you're going to be doing the Black Armory the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's cool. I hope you got some good gear because we need all hands on deck. The city's under attack. You got to go defend it right now.
Yeah.
And it's some totally different enemy that you haven't necessarily been dealing with. Like, I kind of like that because then it's like it's less siloed, right? It's something that would be interesting. I would like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you, Arex, what are your hopes for this raid that we're going to experience?
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. I can't help but feel it's probably going to they're probably going to pull one of those like isolated story things again. They do seem to like telling lots of different stories every time. Like, I kind of want to just know what's happening the last time. But to be honest, I'm more so like I as much as I do appreciate the story and whatnot, I'm also just play them for the encounters. So I'm just excited for the setting. Like, the city is a really cool place, and I feel like there's definitely a lot of potential for some really cool encounters within that. So yeah, I think it could be. If it kind of like falls in line with Wrath of the Machine, could actually be probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, me too. I'm also very excited for the idea. Like, when they first announced this, when the Vidoc came out, everyone was very surprised that these little boxes said new raid and not raid lair.
Yeah,
because we made this point before on the show, but like the last time they announced a raid and it was a raid lair. They were very but they chose their wording very specifically. They were like, new raid content coming, which everyone's like, why would you call it raid content?
Yeah.
And then it ended up being a raid lair, right? On these boxes, it says new raid, and not new raid content, not new raid layers. So I'm hoping for something pretty robust, and that's exciting.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. Another new addition, Xur is getting bounties, and that is something that interested a lot of people. They wanted us to talk about it on the show. So he's getting bounties. What kind of bounties do we want to see from Xur? Some suggestion I wrote down was like a story-based quest. We want a collection quest or something that we haven't seen that you guys have thought of since the announcement about the Xur bounties. Like, what do we expect here? Steven?
So last week, Sean and I, we were talking about like Xur bounties for exotics and things like that. And then once they released it, I texted Sean, I was like, that's funny that they announced
They listen to the show. They're clearly like, we got to put this on the roadmap.
It was all us in last week.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, if he has like 6 bounties every weekend that give you a lot of XP, he could have his own ranking system. And once you get to a certain rank, you can start buying materials and items and weapons from him. And I think that would be cool.
Sean?
I mean, I'm kind of a narrative guy, so I think
Yeah.
it would be cool if the bounties like sent us to different areas to explore different things that revealed more about who he is and who the 9 are.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I don't think there'll be necessarily exotic quests, because we see exotic quests on the roadmap. Specifically, it looks like we're getting 4 through August, so we'll get 4 new quests specifically. Yes, that's the terminology they use. Arex, what would you like to see the Xur bounties become?
I think it'd be interesting if, because like the current format is that we don't get the current year exotics from Xur. So maybe they can kind of use that as an avenue to allow people to kind of get things. Because I know so many people. I mean, I've got barely any of the new exotics. I know a lot of people are very in a very similar boat. So maybe they could use that as a format to be like, you complete all 6 bounties in a week, and then suddenly he's got like another tier of rewards that you can grab from him that week.
Yeah,
that could be a cool way to maybe start ticking off or maybe you get like one of those engrams that kind of, they give you like a guaranteed item you don't have, but perhaps it takes from like the new pool. So then you can at least use it as a means to, bring some value back into him. Because I think for a lot of people, they check in. I do the same thing. I check him every week, but I'm like, I don't really need any of this stuff. So I think if there was sort of, that would definitely bring some more value back into it. And then if they did weave some, interesting activities into it, it also then gets some fun gameplay out of it as well.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't end up sort of like Spider did, basically the guy you go to dump your legendary shards on and just get some mats. That was kind of disappointing. Like, I feel like Spider could have been utilized a little bit better in the Forsaken campaign, because he's an interesting character. Like, he's a mob boss, and he's just like, hey, go kill that wanted guy during the strike.
That's kind of what I was hoping for. Is like the Spider is yet another opportunity where it's like I was interested when we first played it, because like, wait a second, we're working with him. He's fallen. He's the enemy. Like, it's the first time really that we've had someone who was an enemy or of an enemy race be kind of a partner, or at least like a neutral third party.
Second time. Varix was the first.
Oh yeah, I guess Varix.
Yes, Guardian.
Yeah.
We miss Frank.
Yeah.
Dismantle minds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like, I think that's an interesting opportunity to explore lore and explore why and explore like a little bit more nuanced relationships between the races and between the people in them. Because like you get the same sense with people like the Drifter, like he's kind of like a shady dude in a really interesting way. Eris, like I think those are the most interesting opportunities for characters. And so for the Spider to have kind of been relegated to a Mad Stump NPC, like it would suck if Xur, who's been in the games forever and has always been a mysterious character, to be that role that would kind of be a bummer.
I like how Brother Vance ended up becoming this weird, creepy fanboy.
I know, right? Yeah.
And we're like, you were cool in D1. Why did they do this?
He was cool in D1, and then he ended up being like one of those fans who you're like, really,
I love Osiris. He's so cool.
Yeah. Like a lot of his, as you're walking by dialogue, and you're not actually talking to him, but he's just talking. And he's like, who would have thought? Like, he would have chosen a Guardian instead of his #1 fan type stuff. Like, it's the funniest.
Yeah, he's all salty about it. Final topic before we get into spoiler territory. We want to know, what do you guys think these 6-player activities are going to be? Let us know in the comments. We're going to talk about it right now on the show. We're getting new 6-player activities. It's not a raid. I'm not really sure what to expect here. I don't know what we're going to get, but I'm excited that it is a new mode that we're going to get to experience with a larger group. And I believe they said it'll be match made. Is that correct? No?
Yes, they said that.
Yeah.
New 6-player match-made activity. Yep.
Okay, so what kind of stuff would you want to do in a match-made type setting? That's not a raid.
So
if you got anything, throw it out there, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's coming in the season of the Redacted, right? And that season is supposed to be about a bunch of secrets and stuff, like the Whisper of the Worm. I'm thinking they're gonna do a bunch of Shattered Throne type of activities, but you can matchmake it.
Yeah.
So they'll be smaller than raid layers, but they'll be like they'll be like souped up versions of the Shattered Throne.
I loved the Shattered Throne quest. I only did it the one time. It's kind of difficult to get a group together to run it after that because it is
solo it.
It's fairly long. It's solo it. There's a thing for that, right? It's tricky, and I'm not good at video games, but yeah, I enjoyed it, and I hope they do more of that dungeon type content. That's not a strike.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this. I think the Forges might be a piece of that, and then maybe we'll get a 6-player version of those.
The reason I don't think it'll be that specifically the dungeons thing is because I think those are really well suited
For
3 players.
Yeah.
6 players makes it seem to me like it's going to be like a PvP oriented activity.
Oh, okay.
But,
Like-
mean,
Trials.
But don't you
3v3.
think-
6 no 6-person trials. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is, right?
don't you think the fact that they're saying that they're like advertising it's match made is PvE? Like
yeah,
or
maybe.
PvE, not
Maybe.
PvP.
That's a good point.
Like I think
I feel
that's like
if it
their
was-
whole sticking
Yeah, I feel
point.
like if it was PvP, they might have said more like
Yeah.
6v6.
Yeah. That's true.
I feel almost like they might use it as a kind of like a test bed for, because like for the longest time people have been asking for matchmaking in raids, and I understand why they don't do it. There are games that do it, but obviously given the amount of communication you need and whatnot, I can understand what they feel like people would they kind of get out of it if you tried to force people into it. But I feel like if you took something like the Shattered Throne as an experience and then kind of made it like a challenging dungeon with raid like boss encounters, like kind of a much lighter version, and then they could use that as a means to sort of like see how players respond to that, see how players work through it, and then if they realize all right, people can matchmake into this slightly more challenging stuff that requires communication and still get through it, they might then much further down the line consider adding a potential matchmaking option for the more challenging stuff like raids. So I feel like there's definitely an interesting middle ground between like the 3-player Shattered Thrones and the raids. Other MMOs have those slightly bigger, like 6-man dungeons that you can essentially run through. They ultimately culminate in a boss with like some basic mechanics. So I think that would be an interesting thing to fill a void in, and that would be the sort of thing that could almost replace strikes. Right? They could become like this new thing that's like slightly more enjoyable, slightly more valuable, and that could probably be a lot easier to turn around on. Like on a much easier to build than a raid or something.
Yeah.
I really like that idea of them testing this out for something like raids, and I do like the idea of something a little bit more valuable than strikes. I have no idea what to expect from this, but
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
like
I'm
I was gonna
hopeful.
say, since we're all mostly in the dark about this, since we're all in the dark about this, I'm going to shoot for the moon and say yes. What I would love to see is procedurally generated dungeon-like strike things with 6 players that are bigger than strikes, maybe equivalent to raid layers, but more focused.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, that's what I would want to see. The whole procedural generation thing throws it out the window already, but I don't care.
Well, I mean,
maybe
it could
that's
be
what I
like,
wanna
go
see.
left instead of going right.
no, it could be like the Festival of the Lost thing, but you get different mechanics every time. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, they kind of do that right now with strikes, right?
not
Well,
really.
Where they kind of
Let's
like
put it
change
this
the
way:
damage
it's
modifiers
what I'm hoping for is what we all thought the Infinite Forest was gonna be.
yeah.
It'd be different every time you jump into it.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So
Imagine
that
if
is
they
all.
combined-
Go ahead,
There
Arex.
you go. No, I was gonna say, imagine if they combine the logic or the theory behind Gambit with a raid. So suddenly you're doing like 6-man team running through like a raid like encounter.
That would be
and then there's a
cool.
part where teams cross over and you can mess with each other.
don't
Oh.
don't
And then you go
tease
back.
me like
That'd be
that.
nice.
Alex.
Imagine if they're about to get their like world first kill on the boss, and someone else jumps in there and is like, "Hey man, boom!" Like, headshot.
That would only be fun if Queen Breaker's bow was not in the game.
The final segment is pretty spoiler heavy.
It's very spoiler.
It's very spoiler heavy. I'm going to go into it in 3, 2, 1 right now. So there is a cutscene that is on the internet that has been leaked, and it spoils what we think is a piece of Black Armory. Basically, a ghost goes, revives Aldrin, and he wakes up. That means a ghost has chosen Aldrin. Now, the internet has figured out that this is apparently or possibly Cade's ghost, who said whoever kills him has to become the next
No,
Vanguard.
not Cade's ghost. Not Cade's ghost.
You're right. I'm wrong. Cade's ghost is definitely dead.
I was like,
It is a ghost and called, what's it called? Pulled
pork.
pork?
Yeah.
I don't
Just-
get the
that's
pulled
a
pork.
Do you
really
want me
name.
to? Here, I'll
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
There's a grimoire card talking about a ghost that is looking for his guardian.
Yeah.
or her guardian, and the guardians have given the name pulled pork.
Yeah.
It's like as a cute little name, and they keep telling him or telling her to search for his guardian and to like stay around the reef, and the ghost is reef colored.
Yeah.
With like purple and gold. And in the cutscene, this ghost is purple and gold. And he is in the Dreaming City, or she's in the Dreaming City, and she or he revives Aldrin. And what Destin was alluding to is there's something called Cade's Dare. The person who kills Cade becomes the new Hunter Vanguard. And since Aldrin is a guardian now, guardians have no recollection of their past life. So Aldrin has no idea that he was Aldrin, that he killed Cade or anything like that. But if Cade's Dare holds true, then he's going to be the new Hunter Vanguard, which introduces all these possibilities. Like, can you imagine like Ikora
In the tower.
and Zavala?
Yeah.
And now Aldrin's the Hunter Vanguard. Like, they're going to be pissed. Like,
I love it because it's like one last troll from Cade.
I don't know.
In a
I
weird
don't even
way.
know if it's a troll. I think it's like a really interesting thing. And then
Yeah.
there's another storyline. Like, now Mara Sov controls the Vanguard because her brother's the Hunter Vanguard now.
Really?
Well, there's like all these speculations and theories. Like,
Well, because I mean,
Interesting.
just like Mara has influence on the Dreaming City and the Awoken from seemingly beyond the grave all throughout the campaign, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like not impossible to imagine that this is all part of kind of like her plan.
What if they're just like, nobody tell him, nobody tell him?
Yeah,
Don't.
I mean, so one, I think this is really interesting because it introduces some really crazy dynamics between Aldrin. Like, you know, Aldrin betrays everyone by killing Cade, and then you kill Aldrin, and then Aldrin comes back, and now it's like, hey, we got to be friends, but I remember what happened and you don't. Like, that's pretty crazy. I think that could be cool. And we were talking a little bit about how when the campaign ended for the first time on this show, that we all kind of felt a little bit let down by Aldrin's role in the campaign. Like, he's basically right up until the end the main villain, and then it turns out like, oh, he doesn't remember anything.
don't get
he
to
was
pull the
being like
trigger.
manipulated, and you don't see, you don't get to pull the trigger, and you don't even see yourself pull the trigger. We were all kind of a little bummed out by that. Turns out, like, I guess there was one more step to Aldrin's like character arc, and this is it. And it's, what do you know? It's really interesting of a step.
Eric's, what's your reaction to this theory and the elite cutscene and all that?
I mean, I hate Aldrin, right? So, and I'm a hunter, so I'm just like, you know what? I would not be okay with this. I mean, it's definitely it is a really interesting story because I mean, just the dynamic that it would have it in the story, you know, obviously between all everyone in the tower. I always feel like if he had to come back to the tower, they just push him like in the corner and be like, you just stay here and just don't ever talk to us, and then we just have to go into like one of the dusty corners that you never see, just to kind of, if you want to get a mission from him. But yeah, I mean, I don't particularly like him as a character. I've always thought he was a bit of a dick, even from like number one. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be the best fan, to be honest.
I would love this just because like he's so hated. It makes him super compelling as a character. And the interactions the Vanguard like have to have with him. And what if they put him in the corner and he's like, I don't know what I did. And like he feels really bad and he's really depressed.
And then all of a sudden you feel bad because he's being alienated by everyone, but he doesn't know why.
Like, so what I'm super excited about is like, what if he starts getting his memories back, you know? And then he like, from the inside out, takes down the Vanguard again, things like that. And another thing that I'm super pumped about is every time we get a DLC, it seems like they just throw away the story that we just had, right? Like, the only time they kind of sort of melded it is when we killed Oryx, or not Oryx, Crota, and then 2 DLCs later, we got Crota's dad, Oryx. But it's like Curse of Osiris, we were done with that. And then at the end, Osiris says, if you ever need me, I'm here to talk. We never talked to him again.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing. I've said this before, but like Osiris to me was for a long time. This idea of legendary guardians has always been the most interesting part of lore for me. Like, that's why it was so cool to see like Lord Saladin pop up and like Rise of Iron and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so we do all this really interesting, well, sort of really interesting stuff with the Infinite Force and Osiris, and then what? He's just still in there?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
he's in there fighting, like infinitely.
doing his thing, and we're not helping him, or
like we're not doing anything with Rasputin or Anna Bray. And it's like, I love that it seems like they're taking the Dreaming City story that we just did and they're expanding it
which is good.
Yeah.
Marasov has been super compelling because there's little changes every week when you do it and get to that final scene, right?
I mean, I'm definitely the person on this show who always asks for the world, but like, wouldn't it be cool if like on all of those fronts, we're always kind of getting continual expansion and story elaboration and stuff, even if it's just minor. The new format of DLC might lend itself to that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what if next week we got an Anna Bray thing, you know?
Well, so like what I'm predicting,
together.
what I'm hoping for is, you know how the curse of Riven is that we have to go through everything over and over again, which is why we have these 3-week intervals. I'm hoping that once Aldrin gets revived, that's part of the curse, and the curse breaks, and we get introduced to a whole new like thing in the Dreaming City.
That would be really cool.
That would be awesome. Arex, any final thoughts on that? Are you excited about this possibility that this could be the next Vanguard? I'm
definitely like, despite the fact that I don't like him as a character, I'm definitely excited for what it could mean, and I'm all for having like more interesting story, and especially knowing that we've got, you know, that this expansion that's coming up, we're not going to have conventional campaign missions. I'm interested to see just how this story works its way in. You know, like, I mean, this could open itself up for more interesting, more compelling storytelling if there's ways for them to work it around kind of traditional missions that you ultimately just shoot your way through, right? So I think I'm probably more interested just to sort of see how it comes to pass in this expansion.
Yeah, how it all plays out. That's going to be really interesting. That was our last topic for the show, actually. Arex, for those who don't know, where can people find you?
Predominantly on YouTube, youtube.com/Arex Gaming, and also over on Twitter. And that's, of course, they're the primary places. We cover a variety of different games, Destiny, of course, being one of them. So, yeah.
What are some of the other big games that you cover? I know Destiny and Monster Hunter. Those are two that I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, Destiny, Monster Hunter, Anthem, and Division 2. And also soon to be Smash Brothers as well. That is
right around the corner.
Excited for that.
I want to ask Eric's a question before he leaves. Do you think Anthem will be more like Destiny or Monster Hunter?
I feel like they're definitely going more towards the Destiny direction. I think there's still definitely a lot of unknowns about it right now, but I think they definitely, given the kind of the way they're trying to sort of like shape the world and expand it, it looks like one of those more, you know, one of those kind of continued expanding worlds versus Monster Hunter, which is a little bit more static, just with additional kind of quests here and there. So I definitely think it's more in the Destiny space. But yeah, interesting to see how it pans out.
My last question is, how much sleep are you gonna get with Destiny in February, Anthem in February, Monster Hunter in February?
Probably none. I do not like. People need to space things out more. Like, can we not have just like a big like council meeting and just talk to all developers and be like, you know what, can we schedule this out so we can make content easily?
That would be great. All right.
it.
Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you guys for joining me in the studio as always.
Thanks for having me.
So we point at the camera. Let's give it a shot over Skype. So that's it for this time, everybody. Until next time, Guardians out.